Welcome to the Good GMs Podcast. I'm E.E. Morris, and today's episode is Silence of the Players. And now, here's Chuck and James.
Yes, it's Friday night, and it's time for us to talk about being good GMs. I'm James, your good GM, and I'm joined by my colleague, also a good GM.
Chuckie T, how y'all doing?
They're good. They're good.
No, they're not. I can see that one person sitting back, and he needs the
If
advice.
they're listening to us, they're good. That's the rules.
Oh, is that the rules?
That's who's a good listener?
Don't
who's a good GM? Who's a good GM?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are we doing here tonight, Chuck? Why are we wasting our time? No, I'm kidding. Why are we wasting their time?
Oh my gosh, that's even more word. That's worse. So no, today we're talking about the challenges of silent players.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The immediate energy. Nothing.
Yeah.
And it just, here it is.
It's a good topic, because I think we've all had experiences with that, where you're running a game, maybe it's a one shot, or maybe it's a campaign you've brought someone in who you've not played with before, and there's a player that you just don't know why they keep showing up, because it seems to you, and especially it's draining you, right? Because you're a GM and you want that feedback, you want that participation, you want to know that what you're doing is right. But when you have one player in particular who doesn't seem to be engaging, is that your fault? Or is that something you can do to fix the situation?
Exactly.
And again, since this is the Good GMs podcast, we'll assume it's not our fault, because we are good GMs. That's right. So what can we do? So first things first is let's sort of understand what it is we're talking about, right? We're not talking about players who don't want to be there. We're talking about players who maybe don't know, why they're there, or what they're allowed to do, whether they've never role played before, maybe they've never played the system before, or maybe they're just darn shy, right?
Right, exactly. So you have like how you just said, the player that is just doesn't know, what can I do?
What can I do? Yeah,
the unsure player, and I've seen that a lot.
Right,
at the Chaosium Con. For the last 5 years.
Right.
I've seen it both as a player, and when I'm running games, I specifically run first-time player friendly.
Right.
And so,
and I imagine with conventions especially, you're going to get a lot of people who maybe want to play role-playing games.
Yes.
They love the idea of role-playing games, but maybe wherever it is they live or whatever, maybe they don't have that friend group. Maybe they haven't found that online group to play with. Right. And so they're excited about this opportunity, but once they get there, they're like, well, what am I doing?
Yes. Instant deer in the headlight look, and it's like, you get to them and they're just, and they're grabbing, a good sign is when they grab the character sheet and start looking at it, like the answer's there.
Right.
And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's like, I don't know if this is inappropriate. It's like Chinese math, right? It's just like, I don't understand these symbols and characters on here. How am I supposed to figure out what to do?
Exactly. And so that's where it becomes, the challenge of, those players I actually don't mind now.
Right.
I've got so used to it.
Let's start with that player. Let's take this piece by piece. So you have a player who is looking at their character sheet upside down. They're looking at the dice like, what are these called? Okay. And how do you first of all, I guess, how do you determine if that's what the reason why they're quiet is? Like, how do you figure out what it is that's causing that? Is there a steady, like, is there a system for that? Or
I found that it's difficult sometimes that they're there, and it's learning to read the table, which can be problematic.
Yeah, well, this is what we're trying to do, right?
Exactly.
We're teaching people. It'd be easy to say, well, you just read the table.
Are they looking at their friends? Are they looking at people around them? So even before the game starts, is to, for me, it's getting the warm up going. Nice. So I try to throw in the stories something that's, introduce themselves. Right. That kind of gets things going. Okay, introduce yourself, introduce their characters. That way, if they're looking at the character sheet, they're getting a little bit better. Lean on the other players to help.
Right.
With, okay, hey, oh no, look over here or look over here, things like that, and that'll help them get more comfortable.
So what if just to take even a step further back? I wonder if session 0 versus like a one shot, right? You're doing a one shot at a convention. That's understandable. What if instead of like, I know it eats into your time, but maybe a good preliminary sort of thing is a quick question before we hand out the character sheets, in a sense of like, hey guys, thanks so much for playing my game. The character sheets are on the table, but let's just go around real quick. Who here has never played a game before?
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Who here's played? Who's my experienced players? Who knows what they're doing? Who's confident? Good to know. I'll lean on you a little. Like, so get that out of the way. And if it's a session 0, obviously that's the kind of thing you talk about in session 0, which we should actually probably have a session 0. What is that later?
Yes.
But I think most GMs know whether it works for their table or not, but we'll get to that. But the point being, let's figure out what it is before we even get confused that way. It's like, hey, so who here's never played before? I've never played before. Are you familiar with the system? No. Okay, great. It's easy. I will make sure I guide you with each step of this game to give you your choice of what it is you're able to do.
Every time when I'm starting the games at the cons, I always touch on who has played, who has not.
Yeah.
Not to embarrass anybody, but to do just that. To let them know that whoever has not played, that I'm here and there's these other players here and they're here. If you have questions, do not be afraid. I make sure I verbally tell them that.
Would you rearrange the seating even? Would you say, like, let's say you have two people over here that have never played before and you got your really experienced players sitting over here. Say, not to center anybody out, but why don't you two switch seats, and then this is going to be your buddy for what to do. If you have a question about how the stats work, great. That person's going to be able to whisper that to you, and you don't have to stress.
I haven't had to do that.
No, I'm just thinking out loud here.
But that could be an option. That could.
And might also make someone feel more uncomfortable. I don't know.
It
right?
could.
Like, that's the problem.
It could, and which will really quiet them down.
Yeah.
So that's for that player that is unsure of what they can do just mechanically. Then it gets even worse is if you have a player that does know the system,
but they're not engaging anyway.
They're just they just have that really dumbfounded.
I've had some experience with this, and again, we're talking the campaign versus one shot situations. I know I've had it in one shots, and there's not a lot you can do. I ran a game at my friendly local gaming store. Shout out to Up North Games in Huntsville, Ontario. I ran a game of The Haunting, of all things, and I remember I had one player character who was like, he was the detective guy, the hard boiled gumshoe, and he just was quiet. And it wasn't until we got into more of there's not a lot of combat in that game, but there was definitely times where like things were happening, no spoilers, that you had to react to, dodge and fight back and all that stuff, where he really started to shine. There's not much you can do about that. But like, in my opinion, you can try to call on people, and that's why we're here, is to talk about those ideas. But in a campaign, I had this is probably my best example, is I was running again. It seems like we only played 2 games, ETU and Haunting, but trust me, we've done more. I was running an ETU campaign, and my one of my players he really wanted to play, and I remember I played with him different games before, but he just didn't. He would go along with the rest of the group. He didn't offer any ideas. It would just be like, okay, so we're going to go check out the library. Okay, I'll go with you guys. Oh, we're going to go investigate the cemetery. Okay, I'll go with you guys. But it wasn't until I realized I gave him something. I gave his family, like, he told me his backstory. He's like the prince of a small Eastern European country, and he was here, an exchange student sort of thing, And I was like, okay, so your family, you realize, like, you now have a ghost grandmother who shows up and has told you that your family is a line of vampire hunters, and that, when you go back on Christmas break, there is in the family crypt the family sword, and all of a sudden he's like, I have a purpose.
Yes.
My character has a reason to be here. And so he started leading things.
Good. No, and then, see, and so a lot of times that's all it could take. is just give them that little spark. Not too long ago, my wife's friends came over and they wanted to play a game. Yeah, I started.
Was it The Haunting or ETU?
Surprise! It was called Cthulhu. And it was Deadlight.
Okay, yeah,
and but it was initially that problem where the wife in the group, she just didn't know exactly what she could do in the game, and it took a little while to be okay, here we go, okay. And after about, it took some time. And so for a lot, what I would say for me is be patient.
Yeah,
just be patient, and it goes, because you never know, that person might just have a shit day, and it's just,
maybe they're tired, maybe they've had a long week, maybe whatever. And again, it could be one session or it could be every session, and you don't know.
Yes.
But my I guess so we've got just to keep bringing it back to this. So we've got the I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I can do here.
Yeah.
We've got the I don't know what my role is here and what I'm supposed to be doing here. What about someone who's just shy?
Exactly. The one who's been overshadowed.
What if you have a couple of players, like say you have a Chuck and a James at your table who never shut up, and then you've got someone else who's maybe a little more less,
I see that a lot. I see
it in every day in every life, especially when you've got, we tend to take up more space because of privilege and such, and we won't get into privilege because nobody wants to talk about that.
Exactly.
But no, the fact is we have to allow ourselves room to allow other people room.
Right.
But not everybody's conscious of that fact. So how do we deal with that?
I like the carrot over the stick.
Yeah. You don't hit people.
Anyway, we'll edit that out. But in all sincerity, again, when I'm sitting down with new people, and if there are games that have reward mechanisms in it, like Bennies for Savage Worlds, Luck for Call of Cthulhu, etc., then I specifically state to everyone at the table, you'll get a Benny, you'll get Luck if during a scene you include other players. Not boss them around, but you include them in the story.
So do you tell them this like in game in front of everybody, or do you find a way to do it subtly so that the other people don't feel like they're bringing the table down? Like you don't want
before the game starts.
Okay.
Like before the game starts.
So you don't center anybody out.
No.
You tell the whole group this. I love that. That's
very
brilliant.
beginning.
Because that's the hard part, right? Like, and I would think, and again, in a campaign setting, I would want to have those asides. So between games, I might message a player and say, "Hey, can I talk to you about Joe? I feel like Joe hasn't had much opportunity to shine in this game yet. Do you think you could try to, make it your personal agenda to include him in like planning discussions, or like, occasionally instead of coming up with the idea, say, hey, what do you think? Xandar the Barbarian,
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it is because I have seen, just like the person who not sure what they're going to do, the hesitant player, the one who's being overshadowed, once they're comfortable, once they know that the other players there want them there.
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like. It feels like they're not really, they give an idea, they start to talk, and also somebody else is blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, I've watched people shrink.
Well, yeah. And it's like, maybe their idea would have been better, but because the other person's idea was louder, it was like, okay, so we're going to go and we're going to sneak in through the window then,
and I have had those times where I've held my hand up and said, okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Well,
let Joe finish. Yeah.
Well, what were you going to say? And then, even though they're there, so I just try to, let them know, hey, no, it's okay. What were you going to say? And then that'll bring them back up. And that also lets the other player know that
there's room for everybody.
Yeah. And technically it wasn't your turn. I wasn't to you yet. So take it down a notch.
You are the GM, and the M stands for master, right? Like the M is the game master, right?
Yeah, moderator.
Moderator. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It felt weird when I said it just now, but we all know what it stands for.
I saw the look in your face.
Yeah.
But moderator.
The game moderator. Yeah.
Yeah. I prefer Games Operation Director.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you like that one? Yeah.
Well, it's too late to change our show title. So
there we go. Well, yeah. So
we can't call ourselves Good God Podcast. Nope.
Hold on.
Stop thinking about it.
Stop. Okay, I'll just stop.
Too late.
So yeah, so those are some of the ones that I've noticed. That it's just a matter of trying to make sure everyone's feel comfortable. We're just here to play a game. We're here to have a good time.
One thing you do that I love. One thing that you do that I love, and this isn't just something that I would say is like, because you're really good, and I've definitely, when I play with you, there's definitely players who maybe take a little longer to figure out what they want to do, or and it's not just a matter of like having a good idea or not, because their idea is good as anyone else's, but they might not necessarily be as quick on the uptake because they worked a long hard day and they're or whatever. So I like what you do is you'll ask a question and then you'll say, okay, who would like to go first? Okay, good. Now who's next? And you'll give them you'll give each person a chance to speak, but it gives room for that person to have a chance to speak after.
Yes.
They don't jump in. You're not immediately calling on them saying like, okay, who's got an idea? Great. That's the idea we're going to go with. It's okay. So who wants to go first? Or you'll also ask questions of them, like, which again, this is a different topic maybe, but it's another way to include everybody is you'll say, okay, so you guys have walked into this convenience store. Let's talk about who's working behind the counter. Joe, give me one physical description of the guy behind the counter.
Yes.
Dave, give me one, emotion, like, mental, like how does, give me one social description.
Yes.
Sarah, tell me about,
some of the best NPCs.
Of course,
have come up. One of our favorite.
It's all about the conversation.
It's all about the conversation. It's all about the conversation. That was Sonny, the convenience store owner, and it started. It really is. Because I honestly had no idea.
No, but again, we'll get into. Get it. I think I definitely want to do an episode about NPCs and how to make them special. But this is a good way asking questions and letting everybody have a chance to speak.
Yes, and contribute. And put into it.
Yeah.
And you got that quiet player. And all of a sudden when I come to them, I say, hey, can you give me a social characteristic of this person?
Yeah.
They give them time to think and they go, oh, hey, well, they're kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Thank you so much. And again, you can see them. Like I've watched players shrink and I've watched them raise up.
Yeah.
The confidence comes in.
It's funny. This is a totally off-topic example of something, but I was in a play a couple years ago, and it was a comedy play, and I noticed that in Act 1 there wasn't a whole lot of laughs. In Act 2, they introduced these two characters. They were called the Pigeon Sisters. It was the Odd Couple, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. So the Pigeon Sisters showed up, and they were so loud, and as soon as they walked on the stage, they were like, oh, laughing and crazy. And from that point in the play on, laughter abounded. And so I made this idea. I was like, what if in the beginning, so the scene opens with us playing poker. What if in the beginning my character tells a punchline and the whole table laughs? And then we go on with the play. So what does that have to do with this? Giving the audience an idea of what they're allowed to do isn't much different than giving a player an opportunity to know what they're allowed to do. How into this are they allowed to get? So by including them early in those little questions about the NPCs, they feel ownership.
Yes.
And that's what I loved about it. I love when you do that. Like it's one of my favorite things you do. I know I try to sabotage it, and I know I'm the guy that's like, give me one physical description. Well, his right eye is slightly higher because he doesn't have an ear on that side. Or whatever. He every other sentence he changes his accent. No, James, you're not getting
because anymore. That's when you get to drop into the yes and or no but.
No but. Yes.
There we go. I'm a firm believer in that. No but.
But as long as you don't have guys like me at your table, that's a great idea. I highly recommend it.
So yeah. So
what other tips? What other tips while we're here? Like anything else you can think of to help? Like create spotlight moments. You got one player's character is the only one who knows how to hotwire a car. Friggin' have that be a thing that has to happen, right?
Yes. If you know it in advance, and if those situations can come up, great. But if you're running like a campaign, or hell, even a one shot, and somebody just has a good idea, or they make a good roll at the table, because again, I know role playing, but whatever, they make that good roll, and everyone gets excited. That's where I take a step back, and I tell them, tell us in your head what just happened.
Yeah.
And then they sit
you do
there.
that. You do that. Pello, one of the things I really like is I love one of my favorite actual plays is called the film reroll.
Yes.
And that's what he does too, is he'll have the person, they'll roll and they'll say like success by 2, which is in GURPS is not a huge success, but it's a success. Give me your success by 2 persuasion. Like act that out. So show me what that looks. And again, they're all actors, so that might not be something you can work at every table. But I love that. Roll first, then describe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a good one. Thank you.
Right. Well, yeah, there we go. But I found that when they roll well, and when you tell them in your head, tell us what just happened.
Yeah.
Then that's so much easier. It's so much easier because they go, oh, okay. How I'm seeing it is like this.
Yeah.
And they get right up and right out. And the confidence, and they raise up, and they're now they're good to go.
So you give them a little bit of the taste of the power that the good GMs have.
Yeah. And also then it gives me a chance to sit back, take a drink, and relax. And now I'm also part of the audience.
Right.
And it's good. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
Some of the notes, just want to make sure I've got that I'm not missing any of the points that we had, was lean on other players. We talked about use the world to bring them out.
The sword,
let an NPC
that sword.
But also, what about an NPC that favors that player? Not necessarily at the limitation of the other players, but like give that player a chance to be the face, even if they don't feel that they've had the opportunity before. I'm not saying force them into the position where they feel uncomfortable doing it. I'm saying like, when the old lady comes in, the wise old lady comes in, and she's she gives the loudmouth player a piece of bark to chew on and says it's jerky, but then turns to the quiet one and is like, you have something special about you.
Yeah. Yes.
That was an inside joke for those of you who eventually will listen to the Void Ledger podcast.
Yes. Oh, just wait for Kurt. There it is. Yeah. There it goes. Spoilers.
Yeah, we got a ways to go.
Yeah. But I absolutely, man, bring in that NPC, because we love video games. A large majority of us do, and we love those quest givers, and it makes us feel special when that person, that NPC, is chit-chatting with just that person.
Mm-hmm.
The others are there, but you got a little bit of that spotlight.
Right. Which in that scene, I think that scene that I'm referring to worked really well, because we had the doctor's character was dealing with something, and she just said, you and me are going to go for a walk.
Yes.
I left the other players aside.
Yeah.
And they could have said, well, I'm going to follow and listen. That's fine.
No,
it's not about you. We're going to, and I included that person and gave them something special. Yeah. And then all of a sudden not that player was having a hard time engaging, but I mean, that's an example where if you have that player at your table, let them know that they are special, and that their character has a purpose in the story. Right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? I think, I think we covered a lot of ground here.
I think we covered a lot, because when you start breaking it down, and there's, not just
a lot
us.
We missed, I'm sure, and there's a lot of good GMs listening to us.
And hey, and you know what? If we have,
let us know.
Let us know, because we don't get better if we only don't see the whole train. Mm-hmm. So let us know. Say, hey, you guys missed this, most of this. Give us examples. We love seeing it, because that's how we learn. That's how we become better.
And that's what we're doing here. That's why we're good GMs, not perfect GMs, right? So
we're gonna be someday. Baby.
Someday. But so let's just quickly to say this, like, so big takeaway for me is don't take it personally. If they're coming to your table, they want to play. You just need to figure out why they don't seem to be as engaged. And there's ways to do that by reading their body language. If they're looking at if they're shrinking versus just kind of looking at everybody else like they're confused. If they try to talk and they get overshadowed, like look for those cues and find your way to overcome those in the way some of the ways we've talked about.
Absolutely.
What about you? Anything in particular?
Patience. That's been the biggest thing for me is just learning that patience. Learning to read the table is it's something you learn. I know very few people that can just walk in and just instantaneously know how to, organize and run a table right now. I know very few people that can do that. It is definitely it's something that you learn as you go. So just patience, and give everyone that time, give them that little spotlight. For me, it's always been gratifying to watch it when that person perks up, and for me, that's always been my favorite part.
So, Chuckie, have the lambs stopped screaming?
No.
Have the players stopped screaming? Do you still wake up sometimes?
I wake up fava beans.
So I would like to welcome everybody who's joined us already, and for those of you who haven't, come check out our Patreon.
Yes.
It's been drawn to my attention that as old guys like us, some of us don't understand the technology, and so we've had a lot of people apparently click through to our Patreon, and then they didn't sign up. So why did they go there? Because they probably got confused by the sign up process. So my quick tip for joining us on our Patreon, if you don't already, is sign up as a Patreon, sign up for a Patreon account, then it's free, and then sign up for our podcast through patreon.com/Good GMs podcast, and then sign up there. You can sign up there for free, or you can sign up for one of the tiers that are coming soon. Just if you feel like you like what you're hearing and want to support the good GMs, helping other good GMs be good GMs.
Yeah.
And make complete sentences like that, then
exactly.
Join
Buy
us
us a coffee. Buy us a coffee.
Right? Remember, practice makes good. So if you can't be perfect, be good.
Exactly. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you like or dislike what you heard, let us know. If you want to suggest an idea for an episode, ask the host a question, or just tell Chuck and James what you really think of them. Join our communities at patreon.com/Good GMs podcast, or find us on the usual social media platforms. For now, I'm E.E. Morris, and you're all good GMs. We are so grateful to all of our Patreon supporters. At the gooder level, Weird Candy. At the good level, Carl Kiesler, Preston DuBose, Francis, and me. Yes, E.E. Morris. I put my own money to back our projects because we're all good GMs.